These are the Little Orphan Annie comic strips originally published in August 10th, 1925. Annie is sort of spying on Selby. He's this really rude house guest from Europe. He's putting things in his hair and he's powdering his face. And he is vainly looking at himself in the mirror. Annie walks away saying, "Suffering scissor bills! Of all the conceited overdue accidents, that bird gets the embroidered lily pad. Back where I come from, a yap like that wouldn't get to the first corner alive. Ooh, Selby! Blah!" The next day, Annie enters the house with a bunch of flowers. Selby steals them right out of her hands. She says, "Hey, I picked those daisies for Mr. Warbucks. Mrs. Warbucks doesn't like daisies. I tried 'em on her." Selby says, "Exactly, and of course you bungled it, but I assure you she'll take them from me and like 'em." Selby hands the daisies to Mrs. Warbucks, saying, "Oh, Mother, please accept a few poor flowers which I plucked for you with my own hands." Mrs. Warbucks says, "Oh, you darling boy, how thoughtful you always are, Selby." But then a bee comes out of the flowers and hits Mrs. Warbucks on the nose. Zing! In the final panel, it looks like Selby has been spanked. He says, "You knew that bee was there. I'll fix you for that." Annie, who's laughing, goes, "Ha ha ha, whee!" Yep, she tricked him. She knew he was going to steal the daisies away from her. The next day, Selby is going through the house by himself. He pulls aside a portrait of Mrs. Warbucks to find a hidden wall safe. He goes, so there's that old wall safe, eh? I've been wondering where that darn thing was." Sandy is watching Selby. He gives Selby a mean look as Selby puts the portrait back. Sandy continues to look mean as Selby approaches him, saying, nice doggy, that's a good boy. You wouldn't bite me, would you?" And Sandy follows Selby as he goes outside. Selby says, "Good doggy, nice old fellow." Selby is clearly afraid of Sandy. The next day, Selby is reading books called The Dog and Training the Dog. Selby says, "It says here that while most dogs may be trained with kindness, firmness is also essential. The dog must realize you are his master at all times." Well, now, where's that pooch? I'm going to have it out with him and settle it once and for all who is boss. Selby is holding a riding crop in his hand. Later, Mrs. Warbucks and Annie are outside. Mrs. Warbucks says, "Where in the world can the child have wandered to? He's been gone all afternoon. Selby!" she calls. Annie says, "Sandy hasn't been around since breakfast either. Sandy!" The two of them find Selby in a tree. His pants are ripped and he is hiding from Sandy, who has the ripped part of Selby's pants in his mouth. Sandy says, "Arf!" while Selby says, "Here I am, Mother." So his plan to train Sandy did not work as well as he expected. Because these comic strips are 100 years old, it's difficult to find perfect, clean copies of the strips. For example, here is the copy of the next day's strip taken from an Oregon newspaper. Selby is golfing. He says, "Bring the clubs, girl. The only way you can ever learn the game is by watching someone who understands it thoroughly." By Jove, a very creditable drive on the green in one. It's an easy two, I should say. But just as he's about to make his putt, a golf ball comes out of nowhere, whop, bashes him in the back of the head, and lands straight in the hole. Annie comes by saying, "Hot alligator! Did you see that shot, Selby? Bullseye, I calls it. One sock and in it went. I don't see anything so tough about this game." Annie clearly wasn't trying to hit him on the head with her golf ball, but it is somewhat humorous that she got a hole-in-one while hitting this guy who has really been a major pain in the neck. On Saturday, Selby starts insulting Mrs. Warbucks when she's not around. He says, "Yow! Does that old dame give me a pain in the eye? She's got as much business in society as a rhinoceros in a goldfish bowl." Annie says, "Why, Selby, Mrs. Warbucks has been nice to you." He responds, "Why shouldn't she be? I've been decent to her, too. Look who she is and who I am. I should rather expect her to be nice to me." "Why, her father was a plumber, I am told. Risen from a plumber, ha! Why, my ancestors were kings. I can trace my descent for 2,000 years." When Annie's by herself, she says, "Gee whiskers, kings, 2,000 years. Me, I can't trace mine at all, and I guess I never had any. But think of a descent 2,000 years long. No wonder he's so low."